Yes, guys, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to this evening's live stream. And as always with Chelsea, there's plenty to get stuck into. We've got a packed show tonight. Obviously, we're getting thoughts on the Everton game very briefly. Lots of transfer news. Timo Werner's return to RB Leipzig. The future of Callum Hudson-Odoi, Wesley Fofana, De Jong, potential links to Wilfried Zaha. There's lots to get stuck into. And I'm delighted to be joined by Mr. GNA TV himself, Jem. Bro, thanks for joining me as always, mate. Really appreciate it. Very briefly, mate, just want to get your thoughts on the game at the weekend. Obviously, we got our season underway, the 1-0 win at Goodison. We haven't got a great record there, so it was good to get that win under our belts. And obviously, we're plus 3 points up from that fixture last season, which is a positive. But other than that, mate, it was a pretty stale performance. I mean, I wasn't that impressed. But as far as I'm concerned, mate, as long as we pick up the wins in the first few weeks of the season, then the performances will come as we get fitter and we gel. There were positives, so the new signings were great. We kept a clean sheet, so it wasn't all doom and gloom, but kind of some set familiar issues still there. But yeah, mate, very briefly, what did you think of the game?
I mean, when you think about the 3 points, I think that was the most important thing. When you think that we haven't won this since 2017 of April, I think first game, I would have took that all day, winning 1-0 at Everton. It's been a horrific ground for Chelsea in the past. And, even though the performance wasn't great, I think the 3 points are ultimately the most important thing for us at this moment. So, 3 points on the board, more than what Liverpool did, isn't it? So, it's a good thing. I mean, there was a couple of things that I saw that I wasn't too pleased in terms of performances of certain individuals, but yeah, is what it is, isn't it? We move.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, just on a couple of individuals, the new signings, again, a big plus. They all look pretty decent. Sterling was the only one in the attack that looked like making anything happen. I thought he was bright. He was good. Koulibaly was phenomenal at the back. And Cucurella looked really good when he came on as well. I mean, that's got to be a big plus as well, that the sort of the three guys that have come in seem to have kind of hit the ground running straight away. Were you equally as impressed with them as well?
I was impressed with Sterling. I thought I was a little bit confused with what Tuchel was trying to do with the three. I didn't really like the whole Havertz and Mount holding wide while Sterling was free. I didn't mind Sterling playing through the middle. I just feel that you need to have someone closer to him. And we didn't do that. I thought Sterling had an overall good game. And to be honest, he scored one which was offside. He could have had one which was would have been an assist for Cucurella when he came on as well. I was very impressed with Koulibaly, to be honest. I know some people sort of had mixed views, but I thought he had a very good game. And he just looked very solid and, he just dealt with things well. And there was never a panic around it, And him and Thiago Silva, I think, are going to be very important for us going into this season. My man of the match there was Thiago Silva again. Yeah. Personally, I just thought he was just. I actually worry for the day that he leaves this football club. I'm being serious. Like, he's that good,
Yeah, mate, it is a big problem. It's probably going to be his last season. But yeah, as I say, we've got the 3 points to move on. We've got a big game Sunday, which we'll address later on in the week. But back to the transfer business then, mate. Obviously, we're all excited about the incomings and stuff. That's been positive so far. But as we all know, we've got a lot of players that surplus to requirements, not good enough. And another one of those that has confirmed today, Timo Werner's return to RB Leipzig. Obviously, that's now done. Permanent deal as well, which I don't think I was really expecting. I thought it'd probably be a loan, possibly with an option to buy. There's kind of a bit of debate about the fee. To be honest, I don't think it really matters too much. He's gone now. The money, we're not going to get much back. But how important is it that, we've moved him on and we've got that 270-odd K a week off the wage bill as well? That's the biggest plus.
Yeah, I think that's huge when you think about the sacrifice that we have had to have made. When you think about how much we bought him for, all right, 25 million. I think that actually includes add-ons. It's actually a lot less than that, but we're waiting for more confirmation. But you got to remember, Todd Boehly didn't buy this player. So ultimately, even though it goes against Chelsea, it really goes against Roman Abramovich's era when you think about the signing itself. So from Todd Boehly's perspective, it hasn't affected his pocket. What is affecting his pocket is what we just said, which is the wage, paying 270-odd K a week out your pockets. And I think that Chelsea do want to balance that wage structure, but not only just doing that. I think they want to sign more players, and to sign more players, they've got to have a balanced wage book. And that, so getting rid of some of these players that don't want to be, that are on the high wages. We've got rid of Romelu Lukaku for one year. I think that'll be permanent soon, to be honest. And obviously now Timo Werner, who, let's be serious, he didn't have his great 2 seasons. I actually thought in his first season, even though he missed a lot of chances, he was a lot better than he was in his second. I think he was a highest goal contributor in the team at the time. And I know some people had mixed feelings of him, but going into the second season, I just didn't really feel that he he could suit or fit this Tuchel way or the Tuchel system. And maybe it's because we weren't playing to his strengths. And to be honest, I think he'll go back to the Bundesliga and probably score loads of goals.
Oh, he will, yeah.
He probably will. But it's just the fact that he just can't play in the Premier League, or he just couldn't play in the system that we're playing. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, for sure, mate. I mean, it's a bit of a shame it's not worked out. I mean, a couple of years ago when he come out, I have to say I was pretty excited by it. You watch him in the Bundesliga scoring goals for fun. And then you think he's going to come here and he'll do well. But the reality is, it just didn't happen at all, you know. Didn't suit his way of playing. It was like he wasn't physical enough. His finishing deserted him. Just basically all of his football ability just deserted him. And we've seen that with a number of forwards before. But I mean, yeah, I think this move is kind of best for both parties. It was time for him to move. I mean, I've got nothing bad to say about him. He just wasn't good enough, really, and it just didn't work out. But you know, hopefully now the new era, we won't see as many signings like this that just don't work out. Because again, it's another big money signing that has not worked out. That's two big money signings in Lukaku and Werner that just have completely flopped. If we're being totally honest, yeah, okay, Werner won the Champions League, fine. But in generally speaking, you know, it's another lot of money it's basically best part of 150 million quid on two players that have basically not really given anything back to the club at all, which that sort of stuff's got to stop if we're going to be more sustainable going forward. But yeah, obviously Timo Werner out the door. And that sort of that frees up another space, mate, in the attack. You know, we've been linked with the likes of Serge Gnabry in the past, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo, Aubameyang in recent weeks, Memphis Depay potentially as well. Also, Wilf Zaha. We'll get into all of those, mate. I just wanted to get your thoughts first. I mean, I think it was last week now, but the fact that Chelsea potentially interested in Aubameyang, I'm not too sure what I feel about that. You know, I think he's a good player, good finisher. Probably not got as much pace as he did have, but he can still put the ball in the net. But for me, I can't really see how this one works for me, because the only reason I think we're linked is because Tuchel got a good working relationship with him. I just can't really see how in any other way, you know, this would really work. I mean, is he what we need? Because in my opinion, you know, if we're going to go for an aging forward on, say, a short-term deal like 1 year, or it's going to be a loan deal, surely you'd rather have Ronaldo instead of Aubameyang. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, what are your thoughts on the Aubameyang links?
I think we need to, the way I feel with it, after everything we've seen with the falls that we've had, the way I just think that we need to take into consideration that maybe not looking for a forward that can score goals is the answer. I think we always sit here and go, but we need a goal scorer, We've had goal scorers. They haven't worked. Why are they not working? Because we're bringing in goal scorers that and are unable to adapt to the systems of our managers. And when you look at Thomas Tuchel with Romelu Lukaku, and you look at Timo Werner, these are players that Tuchel wanted to work hard off the ball, run, you know, press high up the pitch, you know, just have the overall round game about them. And there's only a minimal amount of strikers in the world of football that can do that. And I'd go to probably Benzema. I'd probably go to Harry Kane. I even think Robert Lewandowski to a degree could do that, but you know, he's an elite like level striker. But when you're talking about Aubameyang, yeah, he scores goals. I get it. I am on the fence with the whole thing. I'm not fully sold on the idea of him coming to Chelsea and it being our answer. He is a lot older. If you asked me 3-4 years ago, I would have took him. Before he went to Arsenal, if we'd have got him when he was 60 million, I'd have said, yeah, take him. Do you know what I mean? Because it was in his thing. But I don't know. I don't think that Tuchel wants. I know people seem to feel that he does, but I don't think he actually wants someone that's an out-and-out 9 goal scorer. I think he wants someone that can do a bit of everything, but also contribute to goals. Like another Sterling, basically, is what I'm saying. Who's direct, who can dribble, who can create, but also ultimately when the chance gets him, you know, when he's created a chance in front of him, he can put it in the back of the net. And I don't know. I don't think there's many strikers out there that can play in the Tuchel system. They might be goal scorers, but it's not the goal scorer thing that I'm looking at the moment. It's how do they fit in what we're doing, if that makes sense. More.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, mate. I mean, as you say, there's not that many out there. It is a problem, you know. As you say, the attack's been a problem for a number of years now. But you look at, and as you say, we've gone down the path of proven goal scorer, didn't work out, and then we're sort of where we are at the moment, where we go with kind of a fluid front three with kind of players that can all play across the front line, and each kind of guy, you know, drops in, does a little stint in that number 9 role. And that doesn't particularly seem to be working at the moment. I don't know. We just need what sort of profile of player we need. And another player that's at Barcelona that we've also been linked with, and actually I would much prefer this to Aubameyang, is Memphis Depay. Now I think he's either going to buy him. I think they're trying to buy himself out of his contract or agree to be paid off to leave, he could potentially be available on a free transfer. Again, he's much younger and he's versatile as well. A little bit like Gabriel Jesus in the fact he can play number 9 and he can also play wide. He's a good finisher. And I do like him. I think that would be something that could be quite smart on Chelsea's behalf. You know, we're going to need to replace quite a few forwards. Obviously, Werner's gone, so that we need to replace one. Obviously, Broja's come in, so you could say that's like a replacement for Lukaku within the squad. But if the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi goes out, if Hakim Ziyech leaves as well, then you think we might need at least 2 more forwards. I mean, what are your thoughts on Memphis Depay?
I'm not sure. That wild with any of them. Yeah, I mean, I look at Memphis Depay and I think, what does he offer more than what Aubameyang offers? Well, he's more versatile.
Yeah.
So what we said is that he can do a bit of what Sterling does: take players on, drop deep, create, score goals. The score goals thing, I don't think it's at the level of an Aubameyang. Like, he will contribute to a goal. Would he work in a Tuchel system? Potentially. Is he hard working off the ball? I haven't watched enough of him at Barcelona. I really would have to speak to a Barcelona fan to really understand like how he's been there. But what I've seen of him in the past, maybe. But again, like I said, it doesn't really give me that. Yeah, you know, that's the answer. You know what I mean? That's the problem.
It is a problem because there's not that many players that are available that sort of give you that sort of like wow factor and excitement, and B, that would, when I come to Chelsea, are kind of in the affordable price range and whatnot. And I just don't know where we go with the attack. I mean, obviously Memphis, out of those two, I would probably prefer Memphis, but another one that seems to have kind of made an appearance that, and I don't know how accurate these reports are, but I mean, again, this is another one that I'm a little bit torn on as well. I mean, I just don't know about Wilfried Zaha. I mean, Crystal Palace, again, he's 29 years of age, which is fine. There are pros. He's Premier League proven. He's direct. He's got decent numbers for a mid-table team in Crystal Palace. But my big worry is that, okay, he scored goals, but again, is he going to contribute enough goals to Chelsea? Like, is he someone that would score, say, 10 Premier League goals in our front line? I don't think he would. The fact of the matter is that he's now 29 years of age, and realistically, despite what people say about him, no top clubs really come in for him since he's really been at Palace. I mean, Arsenal was sniffing. Everton, I think, bid 60, 70 million, but that was turned down. But other than that, mate, you know, there's potential questions around his attitude, etc., his application. I just look at it and I think, all right, his last year of his contract, that's appealing. Premier League experience appealing, and he wouldn't be too expensive. Those things are appealing, but I just don't know if he really adds what we're missing. I mean, I wouldn't say it would be a terrible deal if it happened, but I just don't think it really addresses the issues that we've got. Yeah, okay, if you're looking at it as an upgrade on Timo Werner, you probably have to say yes, but I don't really think it's moving us in the right direction.
I think he's more direct. Like, he will commit players, he'll dribble, he'll create space for others. Ultimately, the issue that you still have at that point is who's going to be on the end of them chances. I mean, if it's Sterling, then yeah, cool, no problem with that. But I don't know. And with Zaha, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because for a couple of seasons now, we've been talking about him going to an elite club, you know, and taking that step, and he hasn't. And when you look at his role at Crystal Palace, he's always been the man, isn't he, that always has to step up and have that game to really dig him out. If he gets that move to a Chelsea or whoever else, he's going to be playing with players that are equally as good as him, and he's going to have a different role, and he's going to have a different role and mindset in the way that he plays. Ideally, he might enjoy it more, but ultimately, he'll be coming up against teams where he won't be able to play counter. He'll have to find ways to break teams down because they will just sit in front of us, yeah. And he's going to have to, not that he can't take players on, he has the ability to do that. I think he's very skillful, and I think he can cause teams problems. But he does have a bit of an attitude problem as well. And that, you know, when he doesn't get what he wants, he goes a bit crazy on the pitch, doesn't he? He gets silly yellow cards and whatever else. But like you said, the most big thing is, can he score the level of goals that we need at the top level? I'm not too sure, but I do think that he gives us that directiveness, that creativeness, which will probably help someone like Sterling at the moment, who isn't getting that from Havertz or Mount. Does that make sense? So maybe.
I get what you're saying. I mean, it's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? Because I know people say like, oh, we definitely need a goal scorer. We do need someone that scores goals, but then at the same time, like, you know,
need a creator.
We need someone that was the big thing from the weekend, just a complete lack of creativity in the side. Now, I mean, you talk about, we'll come on to it later, but like midfield and that, you look at it, all right, Frankie de Jong would be great, but is that really a priority? Not really. I mean, look, would it be great? Yes, of course. Would it add quality? Yes, of course it would. But I think it's more important if we're looking at spending the sort of money it would take, let's spend that on one attacker, maybe two attackers, and try and move us further forward in terms of attacking quality. But mate, what do you think is the best solution? Because I know, like, obviously the group chat's been popping off this afternoon about systems, etc., and all that. But I just don't know what direction we go down now, because as you said, we tried Lukaku, it didn't work. I mean, he obviously didn't even want to be here in the first place, but that's kind of history now. It's all done. It's not really, for me, like an out-and-out number 9, as it were, that is A, available, and B, that would be good enough that Chelsea could actually go out and get. The only obvious one on that would be available for a move is Ronaldo, and that's very short-term, and Tuchel's already shut that down. But, that could be revisited. But, I mean, for you, do you think we need someone like a Wilf Zaha that could contribute sort of a few goals here and there, and maybe that be that creative, and we rely on the likes of Havertz, Mount, Sterling, etc., to step up and contribute more goals? Or do you think, the fact that we're sort of sniffing about with kind of strikers in their early to mid-30s? I mean, Jamie Vardy's another one that was kind of linked. I don't know where these links are coming from. I'm not sure if Chelsea should be looking at forwards like well into their 30s, but we're a little bit desperate. I mean, what sort of route do you think we should go down? Like try for maybe one of those aging number 9s, like an Aubameyang or Ronaldo or whatever? Or do you think we need to go with some like a more versatile winger type player, creative outlet, and hope that the other guys step up? Because it's a difficult one to get right.
I think what we need to remember or understand, I mean, I understand it because I know what to expect from my club. Everyone has different expectations of what they want to see from Chelsea this season. I think that's the most important thing, understanding where you see us this season. Because for me, I don't think that we sort out all our issues in one summer transfer window. I do feel that we're on a transition, and I do believe in what Tuchel said in terms of like he needs a bit of time for the rebuild, which was used. And yeah, we could use that. We've wasted time on the centre backs areas. We took too long. We've maybe not picked the right players on others and whatever. And ultimately, that's delayed us. But when you think about what's still required, for me personally, what I think we need a deep line playmaker, someone that can create from deep. Not only that, but someone that moves the ball quick with the intent, so that when the forwards find themselves in pockets of spaces, we find them quick enough, so then they can be quick. Because you can't move the ball, you can't be quick in transition or quick on a counter if you're a team that plays out from the back, but by the time it gets to the midfield, you're moving it at 2 miles an hour. Because when you look at the Everton game, how many times did Sterling, Havertz, and Mount either come deep or try and run behind and not see the ball or not get the ball, because our midfield were too comfortable in going sideways and then going backwards. And then that in itself affects the system. And that's what I was trying to say in the group chat today with Lorenz and that, when they were saying, we need to change the system completely. Like, you can't change the system if you don't have the right profile player that then alleviates or helps the system move forward. So a deep line playmaker is important, but we also need a creative player in the forward line. I think we need to have different avenues of creativity. You can't just rely on Reece James and Cucurella. I think Cucurella is a good signing, by the way. I think in terms of creativity down the left, I think he's going to have his fair share. I think he will do that. I'm not worried about that. So that's a good signing for us. So you've got Cucurella, you've got James. Where else does that creativity come from? Really, other than maybe like Jorginho once in the blue moon picks the ball up and decides to play it into that space, and then we're inside their box, which he doesn't do enough. Like we don't have that. We don't have that sort of versatility of creation in our squad. So we need someone in the forward line. We need someone in the midfield. We can't be relying on Thiago Silva to run to the midfield and start knocking balls over the top every time, which is something we still do. If you notice, we ask our defenders to be creators as well, which I don't really get to a degree. They can do it, but not to the level that we need it to be effective. So where do we go in this? Like, how do we attack it this window? Ultimately, what I would do is, the issue we've got too many 8s. I looked at it earlier on. We've got so many players that are 8s that playing in 6s. It just doesn't make sense. So ultimately, when you look at it from a formation aspect, we should in theory be playing a 4 system, because you can play the 2 8s then and have someone sitting, but we can't play them 2 8s because we haven't got someone that can sit. So it's like, where do we go with this? What is he trying to do with this? I do feel that he wants to play a 4 system, but like I
Yeah,
keep
I'd
telling
agree.
people, I don't think he wants to just stick to that system. I think he wants to be able to have um, it- the players to adapt to it in between games. So it could be a 4, and we may be 2-3-0 up. And then he might revert to a 3 because he feels that defensively we're better in the 3 than we are in the 4. But we can only do that if you have the players that allow you to adapt to that. And that's what we haven't got. That's what I keep trying to explain. So when people go change the system, we need to
Not as
change it.
simple
Like
as
do something
that.
different. Yeah, it's not as simple as just change the system and just do something different because these players ain't that bad. It's not that they're that bad. It's just that they're very narrow minded in the way that they can play. They can only play in a certain way. They're not able to play in all these different styles that he wants to do in between games,
Yeah.
and that's why it doesn't work. So what does he do? He has to keep finding
Yeah.
players that can adapt. So he needs to find a DM that can adapt to a 3 to a 4, and he needs to find a forward that can adapt to a 3 and a 4, but also create and do what Sterling does. So
Yeah,
that's the way.
but I just think too many of our players are just too one-dimensional. They
That
haven't
is it.
got they
Yeah.
haven't got like any kind of how can I put it, like creative outlet, I suppose. I mean, like Neymar divides opinion, but someone like a Neymar that would just literally make something happen out of nothing. Like you look at the front line, and when we're in tight spaces, when you're up against it, we've got no one that can just like with a piece of skill that can just beat a player, get a shot off and score, or someone like we have with Cesc Fabregas that when we're playing against low blocks or up against it, plays one ball through, and it's in on goal, and it's a goal from Costa like it was back in the day. Like for example, yesterday, Man City didn't play that well. No, we got no one in our team, right, that plays that Kevin De Bruyne pass through to Haaland.
Yeah.
There's no one. Like if that was us, we would have just passed it sideways or recycled it backwards. Like one, we haven't got the players that are capable of making that pass, and 2, I don't think we've got the intelligence in the front line to even make that run. That's the problem. So like, I'm not saying that Havertz, Mount, etc., Sterling, these are unintelligent football players. They're not, but I just think we're still lacking a bit of football intelligence.
I've just sent you go and look at your DMs, right? I've just sent you something. Weirdly enough, we were talking about moving the ball forward and we're too slow sideways, right? Look at that. You can put that clip up. We should be all right.
Yeah, I'll bring it up now.
I use it anyway, right? Look at the difference in how quickly we move. Not only do we move the ball, but the players move off the ball when we find the player. Yeah. And this is under Tuchel because I can see Ben Chilwell off the left. I'm sure that's under Tuchel.
I think that might be under Lampard. Is
Was
it under Lampard? Was it?
No, I don't think it is.
Is it? Oh, it might not be. I'll bring it up now. Actually, no, it's COVID, isn't it? So I think it could be under Tuchel.
It is.
Let me just bring it up now.
So the fact that people say it's a Tuchel thing and that he doesn't play in a certain way.
Right, let's just bring that up and play
just
it
goes
back.
to show it.
Yeah, mate, we just move it so quickly.
Watch this. Look, one. Look. All right. It goes sideways, but it's forwards.
Yeah, but it's all one-touch quick football.
Look at them all. Look, forwards. Look, Chilwell off the left there. Bang. Look how much space. Look this. And I know it's Liverpool and they play high lines and whatever else, but look how quick we can break teams down when we just do that. One touch, move, one touch, move, one touch. Look at the forward already. They already look better because they're able to find space because we're actually that's the problem. We don't do that.
I think that's a massive part of the issue as well, is that players are taking too long on the ball. Like there's a lot of them that are guilty for it. I think Jorginho is a phenomenal player, but if we're breaking quickly from the back, ball into midfield, Jorginho gets it, all momentum is killed in that attack. It's done. And he's actually someone that has got a good pass on him. We've seen it for when that ball that he played for Havertz against Newcastle last season. We've seen him play balls for Pulisic, I think, when we played Lille away. He's got it in his locker, but it's not really his game. And N'Golo Kante, who for all his qualities, like picking a ball like that is not one of his qualities. So you look at it and you think, right, we play a pivot. Our most creative pivot player, in like most creative midfielder out of the ones that will play in a pivot, is Kovacic. And he doesn't get great numbers. Yes, he's technically very good. He brings a lot to the team, but his actual numbers are poor. If we're being totally honest, for a midfield player,
that's not his game.
It's not.
When you're asked, you know what annoyed me? We're playing against low block teams, and N'Golo Kante is our furthest midfielder forward because Kovacic doesn't play because we play Jorginho, for example.
Yeah.
But then we want Kante to be the guy that when he gets the ball and he's outside the box and then we've got all these forwards trying to make runs to play behind, to be the one that finds them. And he can't do it because it's not in his locker to do that. We're asking players to do things that they can't do. And that's why I'm saying specific profile of player to come in them moments to be able to unlock these low block teams. We're going to have the same issue with low block teams this season if we do not find someone that can move the ball quickly or actually have that Cesc Fabregas-esque eye to make the pass. That's why Rafinha would have been beautiful, because he would have done that. He would have took a player on and he would have just played you through. You know, ultimately, we should have got that from Hakim Ziyech, but we haven't got it. I don't know why we can't get it from him. He should be the one that was meant to have been the one that unlocks and creates and whatever. I don't know, mate. You know, Frankie de Jong, Chelsea Database is saying Frankie de Jong's that. I saw Frankie de Jong's pass the other day. It was class. It was.
But you know, like you see that little clip. I've seen it as well. It's doing the rounds on Twitter. Like, it looks great, but like you look at that in a Chelsea thing, it's like, have we actually got the players for that to even happen? Like you can just imagine he does all that great work, and then it's like a Havertz or a Pulisic or whoever it is.
Or maybe if it's Sterling, we might be all right.
We might be all right, but you already know straight away. You look at it, Sterling like comes in. He's already pretty much the best forward player at the club. Like he's performing, he's miles clear of everyone else already. It's like it's not embarrassing or anything like that, but it just goes to show, you know. Like, I mean, we could talk about this all day. We'll move on in a sec. But, I mean, mate, last thing on this. Do you think, like, obviously Tuchel as a coach, you know, you can only coach what you've got. And it's like once the players cross the white line, it's on them to deliver and perform. But when you look at it, Tuchel is a fantastic defensive coach, you know. I think the way he's got these defenders working, the way that he improves defensive players. You've seen a lot of defensive players really come on leaps and bounds under him. Rudiger came on, obviously, Chalobah's come on leaps and bounds under him. There's still a few mistakes in there. He's a bit raw, but, you know, players are improving under him defensively, fine. But you look at the forwards, and this is not a trait across his career. It just seems to be a Chelsea thing. He coached forwards very well at PSG, coached them very well at Dortmund, got great numbers from Neymar, got great numbers from Aubameyang, etc. But you look at it with Chelsea, and bar Mason Mount last season, in Tuchel's time at Chelsea, now I'm not saying this is all his fault, but he's got to take a little bit of responsibility, do you not think, mate? In getting more out of these forward players, because under his watch, we're being honest, none of these forward players have got any better since he's been in charge. Now, that's obviously not all on him, but surely part of that's on him.
I just think we have too many. Do you know what it is with a Tuchel system? And I've been watching bits of PSG when he was at PSG and why he worked so well, right? Every player, but every player that plays in a Tuchel formation or system understands their roles. They know where they need to be at every time, when to pass the ball quick enough, when to do. They just do things at the right time. We don't do that. And as much as we look, I get like Tuchel, and I had this with Lorenz in the chat as well. I get the whole thing of like Tuchel should get these players to like, you know, he should find a way to get him to work. If it's not his style of football, he should play in a way that works in their favour so that we get the best out of them. But I've said this so many times. I'm looking specifically at the forward line that we've got at the moment, right, or what we had last season. Yeah, when I look at what we had and the current crop of players that were available, I don't think the chemistry would have been right with any three or any two. I don't think that they're able to play in a system together, because whatever system we end up playing, I think hinders the other one. So even though you play a four at the back with two up front, you may play Lukaku as one of them and you play Havertz. But the argument would be that Havertz and Lukaku's chemistry stinks. And we've seen it last season where I don't think they even play with each other. It just didn't work. Like, my point is, we do one thing which benefits one, but then the others are hindered because they're not able to adapt to that. They're not at that, you know, they can't do it. I actually thought Kai Havertz could be that guy. I thought Havertz could adapt to 3s and 4s. I still think he can. I just think ultimately the problem with Kai Havertz at the moment is not only is he not consistent and he needs to change that, and stop ghosting out games, but it's the chemistry. Like, I don't think we just don't have the right mix. When I look at our front three and they try and do a little link up and run off each other, sometimes I look at them and I'm like, are they ever trained with each other before? Like, it's like they don't understand where each other are. Like, you know, do you get what I mean? You know, like when you've got that pathological understanding of your teammate, you know him so well, you know his ability, you know where he's going to run. You just know. When I watch our front three, whoever it is, doesn't matter who the front three is, it reminds me that it's like it's the first game that they've played with each other. Like, there's no real understanding. Like, do you get what I mean? The link's just not working.
Nice.
I don't know.
It's not working. I mean, I'll just quickly bring this up before we move on. And there's Arkansas saying on a podcast, he thinks one of the reasons of the formation, they rely on the wing backs to get forward and they weren't fully fit. The midfield two are sitting midfielders, so you're totally relying on the front three to do some magic out of nowhere. I think that's pretty much sums up and is spot on about what we're saying. Is that we're not going to get anything creative from the two in the middle. We know that. And if the wing backs are slightly off it, like Reece James was off it on Saturday, and Ben Chilwell wasn't fully fit, so he was a bit off it as to be expected. But generally speaking, mate, if the wing backs don't play well in this system, we're basically fucked, essentially. And that in itself is a huge problem, to be so reliant on two positions to make the whole system work. And as you say, you rely on the front three to do some magic, and they've got no magic. None of this front three, maybe Sterling potentially, but none of the front three got any magic in them. Can you imagine someone getting the ball on the half turn like one touch, banging a shot into the top corner or something like that? These guys haven't got any of that in them. So, that's another big issue as well. But I mean, as I say, we could talk about this all day. I was gonna move on. Staying with the attackers, but another guy who I actually think's got immense potential. We still forget, 21 years of age, Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, I don't know if I'm surprised about his potential impending departure, but he's injured at the back end of last season. He's gone away. He's put some size on the gym. He's bulked up a little bit. He's been training really hard. He come back early, train with the academy and whatnot in pre-season, etc. It now seems that he's surplus to requirements within the squad this season and is probably going to be heading out on loan. Pice sharing with us that as many as 20 teams are interested in Callum Hudson-Odoi, from several leagues, including the Premier League. Obviously, I think Southampton and Leicester hold an interest in the Premier League. I mean, Dortmund are interested. I think Juventus are potentially interested as well. I do think it is time for Callum to go and get some regular football. He needs to go to a team where we're going to play 20 to 30 games a season as a winger and try and develop his game from there. I just think he's stalled a little bit at Chelsea. He's stagnated. He's not a regular. I mean, I thought when Tuchel first came, he was a massive fan of his. I just don't think he fancies him as much anymore. Seems to play more at wing back. Probably it's best for him to move on, but I don't think we should be selling him permanently. I still think there's a lot of ability in there and we shouldn't sleep on him. But I mean, Jem, your thoughts on Callum? This has kind of been a long time coming, really, hasn't it? And it's probably best for all parties.
I think this should have happened a lot sooner, to be honest. I'm a bit mixed when it comes to Callum Hudson-Odoi because you can't you can see that he's got the ability to become a very good player. But I always say it, what limits Callum Hudson-Odoi is him. Yeah. Like when I watch him on the pitch, I look at him and there's so many moments in games where he gets the ball and he's one-on-one with a player and you can beat the player because he's got the dribbling ability, he's direct, he can do it. But he would always he'd rather take the easy option and go sideways back and then pick the ball back up and do a 1-2 and whatever. And I'm like, why? Why? You're a winger. That's what, you've done this through your academy. I used to watch him when he was in the reserve. He was
phenomenal.
This boy used to run from the halfway line, taking on 3-4 players and then run through. Like, he had no fear. But ever since he's had that injury and he's now come into this team and whatever, and he's had his moments, it just always looks like he's a bit like Ruben Loftus-Cheek for me. It's like they hold themselves back from something. It's like they're worried about saying. And I'm just like, go. What are you doing? And I just don't feel that at Chelsea, we're going to be able to see that show. He may go to Dortmund, for example, who are interested in him at the moment. They want him on a loan, is what Ben Jacobs said today. They want to get him over there. He might go to Dortmund because of the way they play over there anyway, and they give him the game time. You might see this unbelievably crazy, like Sancho-esque show. Like when Sancho was at Dortmund.
Yeah.
Very good. You might get that sort of Callum Hudson-Odoi, and it might be then that you see that it's unlocked. But I think what Chelsea will do and should do is make sure that it is a loan, because you want him to go and build confidence and become this player for him to then come back in the team and actually not just walk in the team, but be able to play the way that he has somewhere else. I just don't think we're going to see it here, because not only is he not playing or he's available, but I just don't feel that even when he is given the opportunity, he takes it. I think he needs someone to just maybe playing for a new team, a new manager, a different idea. Maybe that mindset might just trigger him to just be the old Callum Hudson-Odoi and prove everyone wrong. I want him to do that. I generally do, because he's a good player. I know there's a good player in him. I just don't know if it's going to be with us. And I get it. I think he needs to go. Not in a horrible way. I think he does need to go. and do what he needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's been here his whole footballing career. I think, as you say, bad injury, and I think he struggled really with coming back from that. He doesn't look the same player, as you say. Doesn't seem to have that directness, that running at players, taking players on. He almost seems to be holding himself back a little bit. And to be fair, a change of surroundings, a new team, new manager, new ideas, is probably exactly what he needs. And he's still 21 years of age, a season away, even 2 seasons, if he goes out on loan again the following season, he'd still be 23 when he comes back, even if he went out on loan 2 seasons on the spin, This is a guy that is so young. And we've got someone on the books that, with the right, looking after the right sort of career path, etc., that could go out on a couple of loans and come back and turn into something that could be really valuable for us. It's a sort of player, that we'd end up going back and buying someone like him in a couple of years if we sold him for 60, 70 million pounds. There's that sort of potential there. But I agree, mate. I think in the short term at Chelsea right now, it's not happening for him. And it's best for him to move on. I don't think Tuchel fancies him too much at the moment. The fact that Hakim Ziyech, who openly wants to leave, was on the bench ahead of him on Saturday, I think was a reasonably telling thing as well. But yeah, for Callum, I think it's best for all parties. I'd love to see him go to Borussia Dortmund. I know, the Bundesliga, you get a lot of space there, etc. We've seen Sancho struggle with his move back from Dortmund to Man United. He's not really done an awful lot. But I think for Callum, it will bring his game on a lot. And he, as I said, he needs to go somewhere where he's going to play regularly. There's no point going to a Juventus or something and playing 10, 15 games a season. He probably could have done that at Chelsea. That's not going to move the needle for him. I think he just needs to go and go somewhere like Dortmund, play regularly. I mean, even a Premier League loan, I don't think would be a total disaster. Even playing every week at Southampton or something like that, or Leicester, being a star man. I think that's got potential as well. But I mean, mate, staying with Leicester, let's move on. Wesley Fofana, the centre-back situation, mate. I can't believe, with the season's already started and we still haven't replaced the 2 centre-backs we lost that we knew we were losing ages ago. I mean, Cucurella's come in, phenomenal signing, I think. Obviously, can provide some cover at left centre-back. So I think that probably eliminates us going for 2 more centre-backs, because I think he can fill in and do a job there, which I suspect he probably will. But the big one's now Wesley Fofana. I mean, talking of £85 million potentially, again, the structure of the deal could be different. It might not end up being that much and whatnot. Chelsea have put several bids in, I believe, to be going back with another offer. I think today the latest reports were about 10 million apart in valuation. First things first, I've seen you on your stream earlier with Ben Jacobs saying that, it's a lot of money in it. I mean, how would you feel about Chelsea potentially departing with that large sum of money for Fofana? Someone that, again, 21 years of age, has got Premier League experience, but is still relatively unproven, I suppose, given his age and given how long he's actually been here.
I think it's a hell of a lot of money I get it, because when you think about the period that we're asking for the player, we're going into the beginning of the season. Clubs are going to keep their valuable assets, and Fofana is one of them for Leicester. And Leicester are in the driving seat in terms of what they can charge for a player, especially if it's an important player, because in theory they're going to have to replace him and whatever else. They've got the time to do that, but maybe they didn't feel that they had to. It's a twist. It's a weird one, because I think the Chelsea fan base is sort of split or divided in opinion when it comes to this, because on the one side you've got the whole, well, it's 85 mil. We should just stick with Chalobah for 1 season, and maybe Colwill will come back after his Brighton loan spell, a better player. We can just, we'll have our own 50, 60 million pound defender there who's just come back on loan, and he can come straight into the team. And then the other flip side of it, you've got, well, if that's what Tuchel wants, why are we not giving him what he wants? If that's who he feels is the defender that in the long term is going to be the answer to Chelsea, then we should back it. Ultimately, I think where Todd Bowley's got to be clever, and obviously Ben Jacobs mentioned it today, is the structure of the deal. When you see the 85 million price tag, it's not always specifically Chelsea are playing at all up front and that's it. It's how they structure the deal. And obviously the way we've structured deals at the moment is over 6 years with some add-ons included. So it might be the case that Chelsea spend 50 million or pay 50 million up front, and the other 25, 30 million gets split over add-ons or something. Do you know what I mean? And that's over 6 years. So I get all that, but for me, it's still a lot of money, and it is a risk to take, because you put in that big burden price tag on the top of a young defender's head to come in and perform. And ultimately, from what we understand, he doesn't want to even be at Leicester. So,
no.
if you don't want to be at Leicester, but he's still in contract, surely if he pushes it from his side, that devalues him anyway, because then Leicester can't ask for the 80 million. If he puts in a transfer request, says, I want to leave, they didn't have to devaluate it by 10, 20 mil easily. And I actually think that's what we're waiting to do. I think we're waiting to see what Fofana's camp does in terms of pressure, because he walked off the pitch the other day after they drew
straight down the tunnel, didn't he?
Straight down the tunnel. He was not impressed. So I think maybe a transfer request, if he's that serious in leaving the football club, could be the answer to Chelsea not paying the 80, 85. I think Leicester want that. I don't think Chelsea want to pay that. So I think it's now waiting to see, well, we ain't paying it. We'll pay you something. We've given you 70 odd million, I think we've offered them.
I think about 70. I think it's been like 72 million euros or 75 million euros, something like that. It'd be about 70 million quid or just under.
Exactly. You're going to get offered that. I think that's enough. They should be biting our arm off for that. I don't know why.
I don't know how much they signed him for, but that's at least 50 odd million profit they're making for sure on him. But I mean, mate, presuming he does come in and it is edging, I feel it is edging closer. I feel this is moving in the right direction. He's obviously, I think realistically, he is the number one and probably only target now for Chelsea at centre back. I think they're really pushing hard for this. Presuming he comes in, mate, which I hope he does, and it's kind of edging towards that conclusion, as I said. Do you think this moves the needle in the right direction for us? Do you think it would make an excellent addition for the back line, considering, even with Thiago Silva now, he's not going to play every week this season. This could be his last season potentially. And, a back line of him, Koulibaly, Silva, we've got Chalobah, Cucurella can fit in. It would add, we'd have an excellent pool of defensive options. But I mean, would you be a fan of him coming in? Do you think he's what we need and the right profile, etc.? Yeah, I like him as well. I think he's great.
I like him. There's no problem with the player. I think he's a very good player. I like Fofana. I think he's a good option. I think he's versatile. And again, I keep saying the word, he's adaptable. And that's what they all have in common. Cucurella, Koulibaly, Raheem Sterling. You go and get yourself Fofana. These are all players that can play in a free, but also allow you to switch to the 4. If we wanted to give Thiago Silva a break, because let's be serious, he shouldn't be playing the level of games he's playing anyway, then you play Koulibaly and Fofana as your two partnerships at the centre-back. They would do it comfortably because they both played there before. Do you know what I mean? Like it's having that adaptable players, them right profile players that allow you to adapt your systems. And by doing that, you will then see a better Tuchel system. You'll see what Tuchel's trying to do. Until we start seeing these type of players coming in, and I'm up for it because I think we need it anyway. When you think about Christensen and Rudiger going, we're only left with Chalobah, Thiago Silva, Koulibaly. All right, Azpilicueta's here. Malang Sarr's gone now. He's gone to Monaco. Yeah. So what happens when Thiago Silva's injured? All right, we've got Cucurella. Yeah, he can play left centre back, but he can't play centre back, can he? The good thing with Cucurella is he can play left back or left wing back. So you can switch to a 4. So he is versatile to do that. But you can't, I don't like the idea of Trevor Chalobah playing in the back 4. I actually think he's a better back 3 player than he's back 4. So if you don't get Fofana, and let's say Thiago Silva gets injured, and Tuchel would just, I don't know, because the forwards and the midfields are playing better, he starts playing the 4, let's just say. Are you comfortable in seeing Chalobah and Koulibaly as your back, your back 2?
No, probably not, to be honest. I don't think I would be. I'm not saying that Chalobah's a poor player, but just saying there's quite a few mistakes in him still. He's still young and he's still quite raw. I'd rather have a Fofana alongside Koulibaly in a 4 than a Chalobah for sure. Even though he's younger than Chalobah, I think he's got obviously a lot more top level experience and has been exposed to a higher level of football, I suppose, in terms of France, etc., and all that. But I wouldn't be comfortable with that in a 4. So I think it has got to the point now, mate, where basically this still has to get done, because you look at it, say for whatever reason it breaks down and we can't do it. You look at it and you think, right, De Ligt, Bayern, Koundé, Barca, Skriniar, seems quite, obviously not as expensive as Fofana, but expensive. Inter hard to do business with. Does he really want to go? I don't know. Probably prefers PSG. Kimpembe doesn't want to leave PSG. You're looking at it, and if we don't get this done, mate, you're suddenly thinking, well, where do we go from here? It's almost like we've put all the eggs in the Fofana basket now. This has to happen. Otherwise, say this doesn't happen, mate. Where do we go from here? It leaves us with a massive problem.
It does leave us with a huge problem, and that's the thing. And look, the reason we might be forced to spending 80 million is because, let's be serious, Fofana wasn't in the talks before Koundé, before Ake before De Ligt. He was never even in the mix. Do you know what I mean? And because we didn't get our certain targets, and because we've got a new owner that's still learning the trade and has made maybe the wrong mistakes or whatever, and Tuchel as well to a degree, let's be serious, it's now put us on the back foot. We were on the back foot anyway by a month when you think about when the sanctions had finished and whatever, and then we got into the transfer market. So ultimately, it's going to be one of them things with Tuchel. He's let Levi Colwill go already, so we can't even have him as the backup option because we wanted Cucurella and they wanted him on a loan. So what do you do here? We're going to have to buy a centre-back. We have to buy a centre-back. And it has to be Fofana because I can't see anyone else. We're not talking to anyone else. So it's going to have to be that we pay the money that I don't want us to pay. So let's see. And then you got this as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're say last thing on Fofana, but we're almost backed into a corner, mate. You know, I don't think, I mean, yeah, we could probably, you know, agree something. We might be able to get Leicester down a little bit on price, but theoretically, they kind of hold the cards. One, we're desperate. And two, Fofana's got 5 years on a contract left. So that kind of, they've got, like, you know, we're not in the best negotiating position here. We almost essentially pretty much, give or take, have got to pay what they want, like, essentially. So, yeah, it probably is going to be a very expensive deal, but let's just get him in and get it done. But, yeah, let's bring this up, mate. Chelsea set to hold discussions this week around Aubameyang and if he could be priced out of Barca. Hakim Ziyech still wants to leave Chelsea as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. There's still a lot going on, obviously, and I think this also goes on to say that other than holding talks over Fofana, De Jong, and Aubameyang, Chelsea are still looking at potential right back signings. I mean, Jem, that is an area that does need improving in the squad. The right back area, we need some backup. I don't want to say competition. I guess it is competition to Reece James, I suppose. I haven't seen many names linked at all, if I'm being totally honest. The only one really is Dumfries from Inter, and that's gone pretty quiet. Hasn't really been much about that at all. I mean, right wing back needs addressing in the squad big time for sure. Because if Reece James gets injured, we've got another problem there. I don't want to see Aspie play there again. He's too old now to do that. We saw it last season. And now that Callum's going to go on loan, looking at forward players, Christian Pulisic, I don't want him playing there. So you look at it, you know, and what do you do on that side? So, I mean, right back, Dumfries. I mean, that's the only one we've been linked with. I mean, are you surprised he's not been linked with more?
No, because why I felt that we kept Azpilicueta as much as we don't like it is for rotation of that wing back. And I think, like I kept saying before, I don't think we can sort out all our positions in one summer window. We're struggling just to get a centre back sorted at the moment. And I thought we'd have done this 3 weeks ago. I thought we'd be past this by now. So I think where there will be stopgaps, and I think Azpilicueta, Ruben Loftus-Cheek are going to be the stopgaps for Reece James at wing back for this season. I think we're going to have to accept. So we're going to have to accept that in certain areas, we just can't do anything at the moment. We're just going to have to accommodate it. And by accommodating it is meaning by rotating it, unfortunately, you know, and that's what they're going to do with the wing back area. You know, with the forward line, you're going to lose Ziyech, you're losing Hudson-Odoi, Werner's gone. Who's left?
Yeah, well, this is it, mate. Yeah,
we've got Brower, Havertz, Mount, and fucking Sterling. We've got four.
And Pulisic, and that's it.
I'm sorry, and Pulisic. That ain't good. One of them's injured every season, so it can put us down to 4. Sterling is going to be burnt out because we're going to be heavily relying on him. Havertz,
inconsistent as fuck. Starts so slow as well.
Mason Mount is not a forward. I do not like seeing him as one of the front
he's a
three.
number 8 playing as an attacking player.
And Christian Pulisic is inconsistent as hell as well. So we need something.
I don't know what there is, mate. But this is a good point from Sosa Dia. You know, City have added Haaland, Liverpool have added Nunes, Spurs have got Kane, Son, Richarlison, and all that. And we're chasing Aubameyang. I mean, mate, we are almost at kind of. We're almost at I don't want to say we're at panic stations, but we are kind of heading towards that desperation stage now, aren't we? Where we're chasing players in their mid-30s that are probably a little bit past their best because we're so desperate to fill a gap in the squad. I mean, Aubameyang I think that could quite easily happen. I mean, I don't think it would be too hard to get him out of Barca. Lewandowski's coming; he's not going to be main man. They've got so many options there now as well. And he's worked with Tuchel before. I think he probably would. He knows London. He's lived there before when he was at Arsenal. I just don't know if this really does it for me at all. But again, what do we do? There's not that many options, as you say. You know, Ziyech, Werner, Callum, all out. Broja's come in, fine. we need one more, maybe even two more minimum. There's still so much work to do. So you probably are going to end up getting someone that's a little bit over the hill and in their mid-30s. I mean, I just don't know if this is the right move we should be going for. Like, as I said earlier, if we're going to go for someone in their mid-30s as a forward, let's just get Ronaldo for a year. I mean, I know you're not the biggest fan of him coming in, but I mean, who would you rather have, mate? Not that it would come to this, but in a hypothetical situation, would you rather have Aubameyang for a year or Ronaldo for a year?
I think what you got to bear in mind is the manager again. And when you think about who he's played with, it's Aubameyang. So Aubameyang knows him. He knows Aubameyang. It's the same thing as the Dembele thing. Part of the reason why we wanted these players is because Tuchel knows them. Yeah, they're not the answer, but at least they know that they can get. At least they've worked with each other. There's no misunderstanding. They know the style or philosophy of that manager. The manager knows the strengths of that player. Maybe it's just to alleviate or maybe speed things up in terms of like getting performances out of this system. Does that make sense? So like getting, like bringing in Aubameyang might, like we said, with his speed, if he still got it a little bit, and being in front of goal, may be the answer to like putting the ball in the back of the net and giving Sterling a bit more, stop Sterling from having to play through the middle. So you could have him, Aubameyang, and Havertz or Pulisic, for example, and maybe you see better chemistry from that because Aubameyang understands the role better. Like, I think sometimes we have to look at it as being smart and not always going for the big marquee signings because it's a big name. I think it's about finding players that suit this system. And if it's for 30-year-old Aubameyang that Tuchel thinks suits this system and he can get the best out of this Aubameyang and Aubameyang could benefit this team, then fine. I'm still on a fence with it. I'm not 100% sold. Because I'm one of these guys where I'll say, fine, manager wants it, but now you need to show us, So I don't know, mate. We have to see what happens.
We'll have to see what happens. But say we are, mate. We're running out of time as well. Do you know what I mean? Like we haven't got long now. I mean, I know we still got 4 or 5 weeks or whatever to the window closing, but the season's underway. These things are time consuming to do. We need one, maybe if not two forward players, but we'll have to see what happens. Aubameyang, I'm like you, mate. I'm on the fence a little bit. Good footballer. Good finisher, but he needs to come with the right attitude as well. What Aubameyang are we going to get? Are we going to get the one from his latter days at Arsenal? Or are we going to get the Dortmund Aubameyang or that one golden boots at Arsenal? It just depends what we're going to get from him. I mean there'll be developments on that, I'm sure, this week and in the coming weeks. But I just wanted to finish up with the last one, still with Barcelona, Frankie de Jong. We chatted about the midfield earlier. Not a lot of creativity and stuff in there. We need like a deep lying playmaker, as you were saying. Mate, de Jong fits that bill perfectly. But again, we see Man United chasing him all summer. He doesn't want the move to Man United. He's not interested in that. He's not sold by it. He wants Champions League football, etc. The way I'm looking at it is de Jong's preference is still to stay at Barcelona. Obviously, he's got to accept the wage cut. They want to try and reinstate his old contract because apparently under the old boards, his contract renewal is apparently not legal, or I think I've got that right. There's something along those lines. I'll see if I can find it up and bring it up. So there's obviously all sorts of legal disputes going on there, which is part of the course of Barca these days. Chelsea are ready to, pay him the deferred wages and the fee that Barca want. That's not a problem, but obviously waiting to see what de Jong decides. I mean, do you think de Jong is the right? I mean, I look at the midfield and think, it's great, but is he the right profile we actually need? I'm not so sure, but I wouldn't say no to it. I'd love it to happen. But I mean, how likely do you think this is, mate? And do you think this is what we need in midfield?
I think he wants to stay at Barcelona.
I think he does as well.
As much as I am a fan of it, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'm not like the, oh my God, he's the answer to everything kind of guy. But when you look at the profile of player again and how he suits this system, and you see what he did the other day, being able to progressively move forward with the ball and play the pass, that pass, which is so key, he would make this midfield better. 100%. Him and Kovacic in the middle, between them in a pivot, would work. What you could ultimately still do with him is play him as, you could probably play him as a lone DM. He would be your deep line playmaker. But ultimately, which I'm not too sure on, I'm not that, with the Premier League, it's very physical and it's very quick. So it's a lot different to the Liga and Bundesliga. So what I'm not sure on is him being a lone DM and being able to understand the role in terms of position-wise, where to be, have the recovery speed. He isn't slow, don't get me wrong, but I look at him as a player that needs to have the ball a lot. You know, like Jorginho, you give him the ball and he just needs to see it a lot. The difference with him and Jorginho is that he's more progressive. He will look forward all the time and try and, get the ball moving as quick as possible to get it out the other end of the pitch for us to score and be quick. And that's why it will work for Tuchel to have that type of player. Jorginho doesn't do that, but he recycles the ball and keeps it moving at a pace, but not at any real pace. So I think De Jong will benefit from him in terms of the progressive element, in terms of the box-to-box, the adaptability. I think he would probably suit a pivot. I do think Tuchel might try and play him in a DM if we did have him. I just don't know how good he would be just as a deep line DM sitting there breaking the play up and in front of the defence. That's all. That's what I'm not sure on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money to spend on a midfield player. I mean, obviously the Declan Rice stuff has all gone very, very quiet. He obviously, I don't know, maybe he's not the main target at all anymore. Maybe De Jong might be better. I don't really know. But as you say, we've got so many options in midfield. We add another one in and you think, right, well, Gilmore's probably going to go. Well, like De Jong arrives, what does that mean for, say, like someone like Conor Gallagher, for example? Does that mean that he's then surplus to requirements? Because there's so many bodies in there. I mean, Loftus-Cheek, as we just said, probably he's going to play right wing back as the backup choice. But does that mean that he's not, counted as part of the midfield? I mean, what do you think it says for some of those midfield players if De Jong does come in? I mean, if De Jong were to come in, I think it's still a big if, but do you think that that's the end of Conor Gallagher?
No, because again, I feel that he does want to play a 4. And he would have had conversations with Gallagher about how to get the best out of him. I don't think he wants to play him in the 6 role as much. And I do feel that he's kind of holding on to this transfer market open, that we get things done to a degree so that he can maybe switch the system. I don't know. I think he wants to have. What I think he wants to do is have a 4-2-2.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I don't think he wants a 4-3-3. I don't think he wants to have a lone DM. I think if you have a player that can do it and you have 2 8s in front of it, he might do it in odd games. But again, it goes back to what I say about him. I don't think he just wants the one system. I think he wants to have 4-5 systems. But then 4-5 systems have to be able to work with the adaptable players that he has. He doesn't have. So at the moment, we stick with a 3 because it protects players and it brings out some of the best of certain players, like Jorginho, some of our defenders, yeah. But ultimately, it just goes back to what I say about needing adaptable players. And I think De Jong could be a good buy for Chelsea. I do. It's just again, it goes back to the money factor. But then you think about the proven record, the Champions League, and all that. Like he's got all that. So you kind of, it's a different story to the Fofana thing, for example. Do you know what I mean? In that sense,
yeah.
But equally as important in terms of his versatile and adaptability, it's just, will we play him and use him in the right way? And that was obviously going to fall on Tuchel. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a big if. And again, it's a lot of money and I think it's a luxury signing. Yes, I'd love it. But I think, as you said, I think the preference is still to stay at Barca. But it's definitely one to watch out. But yeah, it seems like a good place to round up. I could go on for hours. But yeah, we've covered a lot of stuff there. Jem, thanks for your time, bro. Really appreciate it. Guys, make sure if you're not subscribed to GNA TV, make sure you are. Mate, you passed 7K now, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, make sure you subscribe to GNA TV. Obviously, link in the description and follow Jem on Twitter as well. Thanks so much for getting involved in the chat as always, guys. Really appreciate it. Please do smash the likes on your way out. Please subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so already. Just click that subscribe button on your way out. It really helps me out. Heading towards 1.5K, road to 2K coming up shortly, hopefully. So yeah, please do subscribe, guys. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, catch you in the next couple of days with a bit more transfer news. But until then, take care and up the Chelsea.